In the name of God, Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer, I am bold to bring you this word today. Amen. How many of you had a song running through your head when you heard the parable? Good job, Anna Ray. We won't ask you to share it with us because I from my part, can't remember all the words. It's an earworm, you know. And Anna Ray will be going out of the sanctuary like this. I cannot come. I can't, yeah. And that's how we remember this parable, right? That's how it is. The song turns on in your head, the earworm gets there, and that's all we can think of. And we miss a lot of what's going on. We know the excuses. I cannot come. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm busy. I can't be bothered. I'd like to think that somebody said, maybe next time. But that is the parade of excuses that we associate with this parable of the kingdom. But remember, this is Jesus painting us a picture. And it's worth noting that the comparison he makes is not that the kingdom of heaven is like the banquet. The kingdom of heaven is not compared to the lavish feast. The kingdom of heaven, says Jesus, may be compared to a king who gave a banquet, a wedding banquet, for his son. So maybe it's not about the song. Maybe we can purge that from our youthful memories. Maybe it's not even about the food or the decorations. It's not about the eternal party. Maybe it's about the invitation and our response. That the banquet is ready, and there's a cause for celebration, the wedding of the king's son. And the welcome is both wide and sincere every time. But every time there are problems. Big problems, as it turns out. Not just indifference, but indifference that turns to ridicule and then violence. And finally, outrage and destruction. It's clear from this picture that Jesus paints that the host has high expectations. A wedding banquet for my son. Get with the program. Come to the party. He even has high expectations of those who are invited as the second choice. They too will be measured by these lofty standards as it happens. And Jesus wants us to imagine that this is what the kingdom of heaven may be like. Now, about Wednesday evening, I was done with this parable. Look, Jesus, I said we've been through this before. These complicated, mystical comparisons that you're throwing out here, harem scarum, they're not helping. Couldn't you just tell it to us straight? Forget the metaphors, forget all of these hidden innuendos. Give us something we can feel good about. It started off so well. A banquet, a party. My prayer went unanswered. And the last sentence in today's reading, I think, points to the problem that we all have with this parable, if we think about it. The last sentence, you remember it? Many are called, few are chosen. It's the kind of statement that makes real Calvinists sit up and sing. But it also makes it sound like God is rather hard to please, holding high and easily changeable standards. I mean, really. You're thrown out for wearing the wrong clothes. Is that what we've come to? I mean, what's the sense of accepting this invitation if you can't measure up to the dress code that you didn't know about because you were told, get your butt to the party? I had a problem with this parable. And then it occurred to me that it's because this parable is a little different. Jesus' parables aren't often seen as prophetic statements. Most often, they're comparisons. They are the laying out of eternal puzzles and problems using language and images that we can relate to. Sometimes, this time, it seems like Jesus might be playing a little bit of the good news, bad news game with us. There's a hint of hope with more than a fair measure of cautionary tale. Yes, the party is on, and yes, you are invited. But the unspoken question in this parable is, so what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with your invitation? Now, maybe this is an answer to prayer, and maybe this is just our Wednesday morning Bible study catching up to me. Maybe it's having its effect. Maybe all of our time spent with Amos, a prophet of much passion, a purveyor of the perpetual warning, look out, trouble is coming, Maybe this last several weeks has been training me to a different view of this parable. Because to be honest, the easier way to preach this morning would have been to read through this quickly with no inflection, with no suggestion of problem or peril. And for me to stand up and declare, yes, you know what? Heaven is waiting for you so long as you keep the faith and follow the rules to the letter, whatever the rules happen to be. Because there's going to be sorting and sifting here and there. Be ready for it, and always keep your guard up where God is concerned. That would have been much easier. You could come to that conclusion. Many people have. But knowing what I know about prophets and about Jesus, I think this is a cautionary tale about our attitude. This may be a parable about our complacency. The kingdom of heaven is one thing. We can't do much about it. Or can we? The many are called, few are chosen tagline offers us the clue we need. Jesus is not talking about eternal reward here. This is a kingdom of the here and now, a kingdom in the present tense. The change that God is bringing one attitude at a time, one changed life at a time, on earth as in heaven. You realize when we talk about the Lord's Prayer, that's the phrase that we leave out of our discussion. We want to talk about sin and forgiveness, and is it right to use debts or debtors or trespasses? Thy kingdom come on earth as it already is in heaven. This is about us now, here, all the time. The kingdom in all of Jesus' parables is understood to be taking shape. Present tense. Yes, it has been designed by God, and yes, it is described by Jesus, but it is brought to life by those who would take up their cross and follow. And there are lots of folks who seem encouraged by that idea. And there are a few who come to the party full of energy and enthusiasm. But then when they get there, it just doesn't measure up, or it's not what they expected, or they just couldn't care less. So in the language of the parable, I'm bold to say that the invitations are in the mail to a wide and wonderful collection of folks. And the question now seems to be, are you here out of curiosity, or did you come to dance? Because the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who planned a wedding banquet for his son. But the banquet doesn't get off the ground unless the guests are in a banqueting mood. The party can be ruined, again I speak from experience, by the attitude of the partygoers. The DJ just isn't tuned into the crowd, so the music is weird and the dancing is dull. The dinner conversation falls flat because when they arrange the tables, they put you with the crazy uncle. Nobody wants to talk to the crazy uncle. And about halfway through dessert, there's a fight at the bar. Nobody tells stories about that party, not good stories. This parable seems to suggest that this kingdom of heaven, the thing many long for, the thing Jesus proclaims, could rise or fall because of us. God has designed it. Jesus proclaims it. We must make it happen. And according to Jesus, in full prophet mode, this kind of work is not for everyone. Many are called, few will be chosen. So, what do? Do we give up on the idea? Thanks, but no thanks. I've bought me a farm. I've found me a wife. I can't remember the other one. Bought me a cow. I know that the camp game is to get those two lines confused, but that's not for here or there. So we give up. Can't be bothered. Call it quits. God, you can work around us. This is not my kind of party. Yet I'm not sure that that's an option. What we might do, what we should do, I guess, is worry a little less about the eternal kingdom, the thing that so many pin their hopes on. Well, it's hell on earth, but it'll be better when we get to heaven. We could worry a little less about that and take a look around our corner of the world, see what might need some attention, see where a little mercy, grace, and love might bring the party to life. We could put on garments of faithfulness and tenderness and love of neighbor. We could, dance a little. Because bad news is easy to find, even in this parable. And you could come to the conclusion that it would be just simpler to let God sort it all out, to trust in the eternal sifting and sorting that elsewhere is promised as a sign of the kingdom. But Jesus calls us to action in this life. Jesus is risen, and that means life is forever changed, present and future. The party is on, and we are invited. The tables are set. The band is tuned up. It's going to be a good one. The kingdom waits on us. Who's ready to be the life of the party?